Okay, so news we got a little earlier, Michael is going to be resigning from the board due to health reasons. And so I'm not exactly sure where we'll be going with the chair situation from there. But I would, hopefully someone will take up the mantle for this meeting of doing all of the facilitating stuff. Would you like to continue doing it, Grace, or would you like to pass it off to someone?
Over to my partner.
Okay.
I'm happy to help out if you would like.
Yeah.
Sure. So we'll just go through the agenda. We'll go through point by point, and then for next time we'll have the new business or the continued business of figuring out where to go from there.
Sounds good.
Will it be accepts?
Well, that's a good point. So Kara is out right now, so I'm filling in for her, and then we've got all kinds of people substituting in this time. So we'll take it from there. And then I will turn it over to you.
Sure. So we'll call the meeting to order. It is 7:01. We'll start out with citizen comment period. Are there any citizens that would like to comment?
I would. So my name is Director Susan Reyna. I have three things I wanted to mention tonight. One is that City of Kyle is having market days on Saturday, and as part of Kiwanis, we will be there giving away kids and adult books it's at American Carson Park from 9 to 2, and we'll be in the Pete Crew Activity Center, Senior Zone, many people will be there. And the parade is at noon, but we'll be there from 9 to 2 giving away books, and also having people reading storybooks to children. So if you happen to come to Market Days and you want to come inside and volunteer to read, we're going to try to have a reading every half hour. If I don't get enough volunteers, maybe every hour. But yeah, bring your kids, come volunteer, let's see. The next thing is next week on Friday, November 18th, at the Catherine Ann Porter Literary Center on the board for that house, and keep on at 508 West Center Street. We have another author coming to do a reading. Her name is Stacy Swan, and her debut novel is called Olympus, Texas. And she actually has a Master of Fine Arts from Texas State University. That's my and so that will be next Friday, November 18th at 7:30, and it's free to the public. And I'm always trying to get more people in Kyle to come out, so I want to make sure to mention that tonight. And then the third thing was I just wanted to encourage all the new board members and the existing ones to show up to all the library events. But not all of them, but when you can. Like when they have the Dia de los Flores or whatever, that kind of thing, show up and see the new things you guys about. And I'd love to see you all here. What are some of the people, some of them you might be. But I don't want you to think that your duties are only come to this meeting and all this stuff. Thank you.
I'm here for the purpose, but I'd like to add something to what Susan said. I've been on the board and not currently, but we had a barbecue, chili contest.
Yeah.
And I got to be a judge, so it's not all work. A volunteer stint for a library event, and you start, and you volunteer to eat the food. That's what you want.
Could you please state your name?
Tell us who you are. I'm sorry. I'm Elizabeth Corey.
And could you spell that, please, Elizabeth, your last name?
Corey.
Thank you.
And I'm here representing the Friends of the Kyle Library.
It will come to Michael having your larger report at the party, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Your larger report on the Friends of the Library completion at that party. I'm assuming no other comments? Perfect. So we'll move on to consent items. Item 1 is the approval of October 2022 minutes. Are there any recommended modifications? Hearing none, any opposition to approval?
Can I have just one more second to look over them?
Yes.
I know, do I know those people already?
No.
Hearing no opposition, it's on the consent items. We'll move on to new business.
Do we need to do like a motion to approve? Motion to approve.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed?
That's part of the question I had, because it says Michael as the chair, so it's like, well, I don't know who would sign it then. Okay. Then we can just have the acting chair.
They've already
It's a pencil.
been. Thank you.
Yeah, just draw a line through that.
Oh, sorry, my keyboard is so loud. So like it's a complexity.
At least
over
it's not a
here.
mechanical keyboard, it's really loud. Yeah,
Stuff is getting
that's why,
done.
yeah. Industry.
At least it's not going to.
So that this part of the new business was brought up by Michael, so I guess in lieu of the rotation part of it, we need to talk about board officers because we will need a chair going forward. So Jessica will be the secretary going forward, and we'll just need to decide, you'll need to decide who the chair is.
What did he mean by rotation?
I think he was envisioning, from what Kara was telling me, that like every couple of months it would go to different people. I'm not sure, but I don't think we have to worry about it at this point. So we can decide how we're moving forward. So I invite that decision.
I feel like a year, like serving for a year would be appropriate in terms of rotation.
Sure.
Well, it just kind of fell into our lap as people were leaving. Somebody would just take over, and that's, yeah.
So going forward, you have been nominated as the chair for this meeting. Would you be willing to go forward as the chair?
I'm happy to if you guys don't have opposition.
Then great.
I'm grateful.
Okay, I have a motion to approve.
I second it.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes,
All
I.
opposed? Motion passes.
There we go.
If there's no other discussion on the new business, we'll move on to continued business. The director's report, Michael, will you give me that?
So on behalf of the acting director, I can say that we will be having a full director at the end of the month on November 28th. I believe our new director will be starting. Colleen, I don't know her last name. There you go. Will be starting, and so we're all very excited to have her join us as the new director, and hopefully you'll be meeting her at the next meeting. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great time to have someone back in the director's chair, and everybody going back to their their territories and duties. Other things from the director's report, we had around 300 people for our Fiesta de los Flores, which was a big success. In the past, we've had events where we can get up to 1,000 people, and that's really kind of a lot for this place. So 300 is a good number, which it was a great event. Susan was here. We had dancers, we had some chalk art out there, we had fruit cups, so it was a good time. And then on Halloween, We had almost 400 for our library trick or treat. So we had a couple of stations in the library, and the kids and their parents would come in and just follow a line of pumpkins around to these different stations, and then come to the desk to get candy. And yeah, we saw a lot of great costumes, a lot of excited kids, and it was a successful program. We've been getting really good turnouts for our story times, especially our Thursday baby and toddler story times. We've been having like 30 to 40 people, which it's big numbers for us. We've had to open up the wall and use the whole room, which is a good sign for a really healthy story time. So we've been having really good turnout for story times, which is good. Couple other things, we had about 100 people for the Hayes County Master Gardeners when they had their plant sale out in the butterfly garden. So that was a really happening event. I think they sold a lot of plants. My mom showed up and bought some plants, so it's like a lot of people showed up and got some cool plants. That's for events. Right now we're doing Food for Fines, so it's ending Saturday. So it's usually we do 2 weeks, so people can bring in shelf-stable goods, canned goods, and get $2 off their late fines for each item, and that goes to the Hayes County Food Bank. And so we've had a partnership with them every year. We do this usually a couple times a year, and it's been really successful. I think a couple years ago we sent them like 700 pounds of food. So it's not going to be that much this year, but it's still going to be a substantial amount of food, and they'll put that to good use. I guess the last thing for the report is the turkey book craft. So we're going to use discarded books, 2 books a person to give them and the instructions to make the turkey, and we're just going to hand that out as a take-home craft, and encourage people to share their crafts on social media and tag us and show them off. And as you can see, it's a pretty impressive specimen. So I don't think I have anything else for the director's report. I know Kara's putting together statistics for everybody, so she'll have that for next meeting. And so, numbers have been fluctuating over the past couple of years, as well you might imagine. But now that we're back in person, our events have been getting good statistics and lots of electronic checkouts using our databases. So people are really using that stuff a lot more, which is good. And I think that's it for the library director's report, as far as I know.
Michael, with the Food for Fines program, do you have any idea what the portion of fines get resolved that way, or is it inconsistent year to year?
Clarify what you mean, like how?
Yeah, they intended that program, which I'm assuming is to resolve outstanding library fines through community service.
Mhm.
And so is there like a standard ratio of the outstanding fines that the library is tracking compared to what's resolved through that program?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have like a good number for you based off just like actual statistics, but I will say that there's a rush of people who come in and give food, especially when they hear, like a lot of times we'll tell them that they have fines on their account and then say, hey, we're doing Food for Fines right now. And so they'll come back like later in the day with some stuff from their pantry, or, if it's like near, like coming in the future, we'll say, hey, like Food for Fines is coming up. So you can, if you wait in a week or two, we're starting that. But, people also have been paying fines with money all throughout the year. So it's not like people always wait until this program. So, we can always look and see. We can probably run a report on forgiven fines and track it by date. And so I can see if we can find that data for next meeting.
I don't want you to do more work than necessary for curiosity, but just wanted to kind of get a gut feel of what.
We do see a big uptick in people coming in and dealing with fines during those programs. I will say that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No other questions, we'll move on to the Friends of the Kyle Public Library report.
One question. What is Colleen's last name?
Colleen's last name?
Tierney.
Tierney.
So, yeah, Tierney, like the actress Jean Tierney, probably.
Tierney,
A couple of us in through the. Karen told me, I still like the actress sheet, and she said, who else knows that? You know,
I do know she's from Hutto,
she is.
from the Hutto Library.
What?
She's from the Hutto Library. She
Yeah,
lives
but
here.
She was at Magley Elementary as a school librarian before she went to Hutto.
Okay.
She hasn't been in Hutto very long. But yeah, she's full of energy. She's really good. Good. She's full of energy. I was in on the interview.
Okay.
Okay, so friends report.
Okay, I'm Elizabeth Corey, and I've been a member of the board for several years. I was for several years, and then I was the chair. And then I kind of timed out of the number of terms that I could serve. And so we have been endeavoring to have a member of the Friends be on the board or at least visit at meetings and contribute to this report. And usually it's just a brief financial report or it's no information in the report at all. So I'm here to introduce myself because I know we have a lot of new members, we have a lot of members that have been members for a while that I have not met, so I wanted to just give you one face to put to the name of the Friends. There are 5 of us, and the Friends of the Library is sort of a library industry term. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but lots of libraries have a Friends group, and it's largely the purpose is to help support the library financially and or with volunteer help. And some Friends of the Library groups do simple things like run the book sale and use book sale, or they may have a tiered donation system where if you donate $5, you get this category level donation, and more up higher, you get more prestigious designations, and then maybe your names are in a book somewhere, but there's nothing you need to do except contribute. And then you're asked, of course, repeatedly year after year to continue to contribute. Our Friends of the Library, though, is our purpose, our main way to support the library is through the thrift shop. So the thrift shop is not a city department. So the people who work there work for the thrift shop and not the library. The whole purpose of the thrift shop is to take the profits that they make and return them to the library, and that covers expenses that are not covered by the city budget. As you probably know, when the city budget is approved, there's usually a long process involved in getting things cut from it, and so the Friends are the people who stand in the background and wait for to see how much is cut and see where we can contribute for things that the library really wants, but they're not permitted to have. Or there might be something that happens in the middle of the year where someone gets an idea about a good program or a piece of equipment, and we haven't budgeted for it, and it's often not a good idea to go back to your leaders in city government and say, could we have $10,000 more? So that's what the Friends do, and I haven't looked at them for a while, but we have sort of a procedure manual or a code of conduct or a purpose or something like that, a charter, where I think it's stated that we expect to have donations of a certain amount. I think it might be something around $5,000 per year, but we usually are able to fund more projects than that. And one that I remember we've been funding for quite a number of years running is the summer reading program. And I know that I don't think that we support the entire thing, but some of the extras that we're budgeted for is that I see a couple people nodding, and that's pretty nice.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then, of course, we do things that some board members do too, which is, like you mentioned, volunteering for things and participating in library events and other ways. So Jane Kirkham is one of the Friends, and she's been on the Friends board for a long time. And she gave me a list of a few things she could recall. So I can tell you this. Let's see. And some of these maybe you could help me with there was a telescope.
Yep.
Yep. And more than one microscope. She has an S from that, microscopes.
Just one.
Sewing machine, craft materials, teen section, furniture for them. There's a beanbag chair, I think, and, the 3D printers. And then a couple of years ago, I remember we, were able to come up with funding for the smart table that the smaller children use, and that was fun. And I was on the board then, and I asked, we have somebody from the library during our meeting, take us out there and show us how to use it. Have 2 toddlers again, and it was fun. It was very fun. People were sitting on the floor, trying to imagine how it worked, and it was really nice to see what had happened with the money that we were able to provide. So, does anybody have any questions about? Yes.
Where is the actual financial report that like shows intake at the thrift store versus export to the library through donations?
I've not seen that, and I don't think that that's part of our normal process to share the information as far as the details of all the financial reports. Jean gave me a couple of numbers. So just to give you an idea of sales, I found one thing was really interesting at the onset of the pandemic. We had quite a dip over the first few months, and we also closed. So for a lot of reasons, our revenue wasn't what we wanted to be, which is average levels during the pandemic. But then within a year, we were doing so much better that we were pretty much back to normal, even though we had the pandemic closed and selling less. So a couple of recent sales figures are October. The total sales was $44,522, and that's October this year. And that's compared to October 2021, which is $38,605. So 44,500 to 38,605.
Here, can you repeat that? You're saying for the month of October? So for the month of October.
I think it's easier to do it this way. I've got 3 numbers: 2020, 21. And 22, all October.
I think just October 2022 would be sufficient to provide a sense of that.
Well, what I'm showing is how we went from $31,000 in 2020 to 38, and then to 44. So in those
Increasing sales.
Yeah.
So not chump change.
Another page for you, which shows some art and pillows right after the beanbag chairs.
Yeah, to kind of expand on what she's saying, the Friends provided us with the money to buy furniture for our teen section. I think if you want, you can go and check it out. I think some people did. I think it was the
Last meeting we went.
last meeting, checked it out. But some cool new art, some beanbag chairs, just kind of make it more of a room for teens, because previously it was just kind of bland. So it did that. The Friends provided the money for the new collection of circulating items that we're going to be having. So the microscope, a beading loom, a leatherworking kit, GoPro, Chromebooks, things that you might be interested in using a couple of times, and you don't want to have that upfront cost. You can go check it out at the library. And so the Friends provided the money for that, 3D printers, and so. It's funny that Paul, when he was the director, he would always kind of not ask for very much, and so the Friends kind of had all of these resources that we could be using, and so we've had kind of modest asks in the past, and so it's these big things that are very cool and have a big impact when they get to the public, but it's fairly few and far between, and so I think we can work better with the Friends over the next couple of years and get some more of those resources used so that people can see that the Friends is there supporting us. I'm going to do social media posts pretty soon with all of that information as a shout out, saying, hey, this was all because of the Friends, and take pictures and kind of highlight that this is an organization. Go to the thrift shop,
And we're also looking new friends. So I'm thinking that we probably have people who are similar in my situation to where I timed out of my service on the board, who I then became involved with friends like that. So there might be people in this room or people who recently left the board that we can contact and mention this opportunity to. We don't have any number of slots to fill or anything, any specific number we have to reach, but I'm sure the more people we have on the team, the easier it will be for us to do.
So is there a conflict of being a board member and also being a friend?
No, in fact, that's what we had when, like a couple of generations ago, it was just a few years ago. We had someone who was appointed to the board and was also a friend, and so she was on over partly because of that. And when I followed her, I didn't have time left to be on the board, so I just showed up as a representative of the friends and not a board member, so but I don't think this is a very contentious board as far as, fortified and, do a lot of the parking lot or anything, but, so I didn't see much difference when I was coming here as a board member, and yes, when I came here as a friend, other than I didn't have to attend meetings anymore. Good luck, for sure.
So I assume that being a friend is a volunteer position as well. So what would that job description look like? It's like you just said, is there anything else besides helping the library in that?
I haven't seen anything. The person who probably would know that best is Jane Kirk, who probably has been on the Friends the longest. She's the lifelong president of Kyle, and that building is named after her family. So, and she works at the Pace Free Press too. So she's the one that would have the best history as far as that goes. In my case, I didn't apply. I just knew people on the Friends and some of these things. They voted me in without even asking me about it. So, and told me later when you get that.
Conscripted.
I've been appointed to the Friends by them, and like it or not. So if anybody knows Esperanza Carrasco, she's on the school board, and she's had those brown and pink campaign signs up for years, so we've not met her in person. She's been on the board, and she's on the Friends now. And Michelle Lopez, who also saw some campaign signs, she's running against Friends Wonder, I think. And then Jane, and Jane's sister, Todd, who I think was named by Jane because Jane couldn't say it. Jane's little, and myself. So it's a fantastic but small group, and so we'd be happy to have any other people who are interested.
How young? Where? Well, I mean, I know everybody on there except Shane's sister, but the idea is, knock on the door and say, hey, I want to be part of your gang.
And you have to get jumped in. You have to get jumped in. You have to come and get it.
Right. Meeting, and then we have Zoom calls, and so when we meet, it's often to, sometimes when we get these requests, it's so clear that it's so honest, and it's so, something we'd love to be able to provide. So we don't have to meet over how many ping pong chairs and that sort of thing. So we have not met in a while, partly because of special circumstances of people, like being on water and Michelle, she was running for state representative, and we met also with our, we have a financial advisor, so there's enough money that we need for that. And I've explained that to Paul, and when you mentioned it, Paul was reluctant to make requests. I tried to explain, we don't ordinarily give out information as to where we stand exactly, because it's probably not relevant, but I've tried to make it clear to Paul that we have, we would be able to do much more than just ask.
So I think the thrift shop is a, private entity, and so, first, it's a private business, it's not tied to the city or anything.
The
That's the thrift store.
Yes, that's right.
And so if that's the case, I'm assuming that's what the National Accounting Fund, that's what you're
Yes.
talking about. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I missed, because when I said that the thrift shop isn't part of the city, it doesn't employ city employees, it's unless it's like a Goodwill only, it's not. And, after we pay for, expenses, and staff salaries and things, they have a full-time manager and a couple of full-time employees and several part-time employees.
But isn't the manager fairly new? I wouldn't say fairly, but.
We'll say
I've been here.
4 years.
4 years, because he was,
Because I did.
well, that's.
New, yeah,
Huh?
that's new around here.
Well, yeah, because the person that had been there for a long time. Am I right? And, I mean, that's what I
I didn't know
understood.
that person, so.
Right.
And he came in just as the renovation was finished.
Exactly.
So that's been several years.
Okay.
We increased the size of the thrift shop
The
by,
sign.
I don't know, 50%. Some of it was a large amount. And they were able to actually put things out on display that had been stored, which is also the same case with the library. Years ago, before this one, a lot of the books and other materials were locked away because there wasn't room. So.
The process of getting all those books out of storage and dealing with them was quite a large process.
I bet, I saw you shaking your head, so I guess you were
Yeah.
able to have it. Did I answer your question about
You did.
there isn't really a job description? Yeah.
But I'm certainly would be interested in
Would
getting
you?
more information, absolutely. Okay.
So, are you going to be a regular at our meetings? Are you going to be the liaison? That's the way I saw Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy was a
Kathy
liaison.
was on the board
Right.
and she was on the Friends and she
Right.
came to every meeting. When I started,
Go ahead, I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
when I switched from being on the board
Uh-huh.
to being, that was around the time, a few months later, the pandemic appeared.
Right.
And so I was calling in my information. So I would check with
Right.
Jane, Jane would check with Bill at the thrift shop and see if we had anything to report. And sometimes we buy things for Bill, let him spend some of his money instead of providing it in the stash for the library. We might need to get carts or something, or shelving for Bill at the store. So I would check with Jane and see if there's anything new, and then file, just write to Paul and say. there's no
Yeah, and
news.
sometimes you were on our phone meetings, yeah.
Yes, and sometimes my report was, Paul, could you please make a request or something?
Yeah.
I think that I want to go back to the financial transparency. I'm just honestly like having a hard time wrapping my head around the Friends of the Library structure here. I was on the board of directors for Friends of the Library group in another state, and I have a degree in library science. I'm like very familiar with Friends of the Library programs. And when I first moved here, I wanted to join the Friends of the Library, and I couldn't find a lot of information about it online. I saw that there was a thrift shop, and then when I reached out like to try to join it, I was like directed to someone, and they were kind of like, well, if you want to be on the Friends of the Library, like what you do is volunteer in the thrift shop. And that was a little bit confusing to me, like as a new person in the community, like I would like to support the library, like I don't want to work in the thrift
I
shop.
don't know of anybody that is, I don't know if that's of that circumstance. I don't know of anybody that volunteers time under anybody who's not employed there who volunteers. So I don't, if that was the information you got, then I believe you were misinformed, and it's certainly not the way it is today. I'm on the Friends board, and I've never been asked to volunteer at the thrift shop.
So I think that my confusion a little bit is, I'm just wondering about like the organization and structures and like communication and information in general, because like when a question is asked, like, what do the Friends do? They're like, I'm not really sure what the answer to that still is, other than approve some funds from there's a very small group, whereas in a lot of library organizations, there's a very large, like anybody can join the Friends of the Library.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so to donate money and then join the Friends of the Library.
Supporting the symphony or, some other
Yes.
project like
So
that.
I'm wondering, I guess, a couple of things. One is like, is there a potential to open the Friends of the Library so that there could be more than 5 Friends of the Library in Kyle? There could be lots of Friends of the Library would be one question. And then another question, I guess, I'm a little bit confused about the structure of the funding. So if it's a nonprofit, so the thrift shop is a nonprofit, and the reason it has nonprofit status is because it is supposedly giving all of its profits to the library. Is that correct or not? And if so, I'm wondering if the financial information is not available to the director of the library or the board of directors of the library, like to whom is your organization accountable? Who is overseeing the organization?
And I know just enough about corporate law to back up from your statement about it being a not-for-profit. I'm not 100% sure what category that would fit in, if that's the right description. The things for sale in the thrift shop are donated by citizens. Then when the thrift shop prices them and sells them, that becomes the thrift shop's revenue. And they pay their bills and their staff. And what's left over is what gets invested for the benefit of the library.
But the library isn't getting all of the profits.
No, we don't no.
Because if you made $44,000 in 1 month, that's clearly not commensurate with the amount of money that is coming into the library, even in a whole year.
Well, but that would include all their expenses, their staff costs.
That's just the income, the cash coming in.
Yes, I understand. 44,000 just seemed to me like a lot of income for 1 month in comparison to the amount of items that were being donated to the library, such as a telescope, beanbags, and a 3D printer. But I don't know because I don't have the financials, so I can't speak to that.
And
So I'm just saying, I'm
Upon
interested.
request.
And
It's
I
upon
think that
request.
what I'm hearing from actually both sides here is that there's definitely areas that we can have better collaboration between the Friends and the director, and that this might be something that we should explore, how we can better tie these connections.
Right.
I think it's serendipitous that we have a new director coming on and having her point of view on how she'd like to have a relationship with the friends and hopefully, for at least for me, bringing some transparency so we can better support and socialize and amplify the work of the friends. Knowing, being able to answer some of those questions will be helpful. I feel like their friends are great. How do we do it? I have no idea.
And if there's a historic need on the Friends side to know how can they help
Right.
the library, that is another area that we need to actually work on exploring to build those connections.
So that you don't have to wait for these kind of ad hoc requests, but that there's a better, robust plan and more communication with the director and you all too, so you can better plan for it.
And recognizing that this video or meeting will be posted on the internet, I just would like to point out that there's historical sensitivity between budgetary requests and requests of the Friends and the impact the two have on each other. And so we didn't, as the Friends have not wanted, and this is me hearing from prior people who were members of the Friends way before I was a couple of years ago. We didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize funding that would be budgeted because we didn't want it to be taken for granted, that we didn't want the budget for the library to diminish because it was clear that, because it was assumed that any deficit or retraction of money could be replaced, of course. So I just,
Important.
I will also point out that the money that we make from the vending machine and the books that we sell over there also go into that Friends fund. We're not doing the coffee right now, mainly because it's not coffee weather, but as we get there, but I do have the report for October. We have $238 to send to the Friends, and that's about 100-ish from the vending machine. And the books have been selling really well. And so, you know, we price them to move. It's like $1 for a hardcover book. And so people will see it and they'll bring them to the circulation desk, give us cash, and take a pile of books. So we've made a decent amount of money for the Friends through that. And so part of the problem we've had in the past is we had so many donations, and the thrift shop would say, stop sending us books, we don't have enough room. And so we'd have these books, and you know, we'd send them to the little free library, and we'd do giveaways, but it would be a lot of books. And so now we're kind of getting some more movement through those donations, because people will buy them if they're really cheap. And so we have that going for us.
Does anybody else have any additional
So that wraps up our continuing business. Bring it down to announcements, informal items, and next meeting items. Are there any announcements that will be made from the board? No. I think in terms of next items, there are, of course, scheduled items in the back where we will hand out for upcoming events. The next meeting.
December 8th.
December 8th?
December 8th.
Thank you.
How do we handle vacancies on the board? Would that be something that we discussed at the next meeting? Vacancies on the board?
That's a great question, and I'll find that information out and send that out. I don't know if everyone saw that. I did make the Kyle Library Board email address, so we can, moving forward, we can put that on the website. So any email that gets sent to that email address will go out to everybody, and so we can keep everybody on the same page without having to worry about, did I get everybody on the list?
So as far as the online page that has the list of the board members and the email addresses, will that be taken off?
That's if people are comfortable with that or not, because I know some people have privacy concerns. So that's what I have with the Arts Commission. It's just lists. This is the email address to contact the board or the commission. So if people like having their personal email on there, we can do that, or I can change it to just having that one email address. It's maybe an item for the next meeting to vote on.
And I'm wondering if, like, the city secretary has any input on what the city prefers on that.
I can ask.
If you don't mind
Yeah.
confirming that there isn't any concern from the city standpoint.
Yeah, I can ask. That's not a problem.
If there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn? There's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:43.
Okay.